sports segment here, is still trying to process exactly what he saw about Haddonfield and Cinnaminson last night. And Kevin, your most recent tweet of the three was about the Haddon's D. Cinnaminson, 38 plays, minus 44 yards, 25 plays of 3 yards or less. That's like gangrene Eagles circa 1991.
Yeah, Haddonfield was all over the place, and they did a real nice job at the point of at the line of scrimmage and really shut them down. And it was hard to Cinnaminson to do pretty much anything. And once I got back and went through the stats again, and I had to look at them a third time just to make sure my math was right, because there was so many stops for tackles for loss, and it was a really, really fine defensive display.
You probably know a little of my history, and I spent that time out in Nebraska early in my career, and they used to say about the Husker football team when it was at its best and most dominant, they don't rebuild, they reload, and Haddonfield is certainly in that position. 20 straight wins now.
Yeah, the thing with Haddonfield is that, they have kids coming up, through the ranks, and they have to wait their turn. And, for this group, there's a lot of seniors that really didn't get any playing time last year or were limited in playing time. And, they're getting their opportunity this year, and they're really taking advantage of it. So, it's part of being part of a program and putting in your time and I guess, ultimately being a good teammate. And then once you get your time, taking full advantage of it. And so far, so good for, this group of Bulldogs.
Such a great quote from their coach, Frank Delano. How do you say his last name?
Frank Delano. He was actually the state coach of the year last year and has done a real nice job with them.
Your quote that you got from him where it says, the faces change, but the age doesn't. The standard doesn't. The culture doesn't. And he paints a great picture of kids in the stands, 5, 6 years old, saying, hey, someday I want to be that guy under the Friday night lights.
Yeah, there are programs. There are not a lot of programs like that. And, what Frank has been able to do there is every kid truly has bought in. And it starts when they come in the midget programs and work their way all the way up, and they truly do not look past the week that's ahead of them, and that's it. They don't look at the big picture, I guess. The check, getting a chance to play in a championship, the chance to play in a bowl game. They want to win that game that week, and that's it. And if you've heard Frank's post game speeches and you've talked to him enough, that has never changed. That's the way he's always been. And, those kids understand, and they understand that, if they give maximum effort that week, they'll get the result. They enjoy that result that night. They come back on Saturday morning with their notebooks. They take their notes. They learn from their mistakes, and they're on to the next game.
On the offensive side of things, maybe no better example than their senior quarterback, Jack Narducci, and he gave you a great quote, too, saying, hey, we were on the scout team last year, We're on the scout team. Now I'm 8 for 14 for 124 and 3 scores.
Yeah, he's just one of those first-year senior starters, and they were all over the field for them last night. And, you think that a kid's going to come in maybe to a season with a lack of varsity experience, and it might take a little bit to get going. But, these kids have, like I said, they've played on the scout team. They've helped a Haddonfield team win 20 games in a row now. So it's their turn, and obviously there's guys that are going to be behind them that will come in next year and fill in those same roles. So, they all know their job. They all go about their business, on a daily basis, knowing that this is their opportunity to step up and play. So they take full advantage of it.
Before we leave the Haddonfield game, can I compliment you on your photography as I read your article here and see that you took the picture of Coach Frank Delano talking to his team? Now that one, I always think that's an easy one. The coach is sitting there, they're not moving, right? But you've framed up your picture of the offense, the Haddonfield offense, very well, because you have the referee in there, a little bit of the down sign. You're right on the ball. I mean, Kev, you're getting good at this.
Well, I've been around long enough. I used to take pictures with a camera, so now we just use it with the phone. But you can do a lot of different things if you just think about it, and it's a little different and just adds to it.
Yeah, I mean, I used to say the joke when I was shooting the TV highlights, have you ever looked through a viewfinder for a living, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that think they think they know what they're doing, but yeah, with instant feedback, I guess it's a little bit easier to do. Kevin Minnick's with us from NJ.com, covers the West Jersey Football League, saw Haddonfield's dominant performance last night as they simply blew out Cinnamon. Now let's talk about some other scores. What jumped out at you, Kev? I'll go where you lead me. So what jumped out at you from last night's Friday night scores?
Well, it's not so much that it jumped out at me, but if you look at Ocean City right now, 3-0, they haven't given up a point yet. Now the schedule hasn't been the toughest, and I think it's going to obviously get better. Next week, I believe they'll host Absegami. So, but to be undefeated, out of the gate and not give up a point yet, the confidence level there for Ocean City's got to be pretty high.
Yeah, and Ocean City's doing it efficiently, too. Like you said, Joe Rapetti, 9 for 11, 143 yards, 4 touchdowns in the first half alone. Tom Williams, the great historian, right, says it's the first time in 36 years that they've started a season 3-0 without giving up a point, and 126-0 so far in their first 3 games. And we had Mike McGarry on in the first hour, Kevin. He was talking, because Mainland won last night, too. He was talking about, you have to go back to, like, the Brent Caprio years to see what kind of matchup this is going to be in a couple weeks when Ocean City and Mainland square off.
Yeah, as long as these teams continue to progress and play the way they have, it's going to be that's obviously going to be a really huge game.
So Kevin Minnick's with us talking Friday night scores last night. Gateway had Florence last night. Ho-hum, no surprise there. What else did you retweet out? Cherry Hill East and Eastern. Some of these, not a lot of shockers, right?
No, not really. But if you look at now, 2 big games last night that have a huge impact going into next week. Williamstown goes down to Millville, blank stem 37-0. Lenape pulls out a huge win last night, so over Vineland. So that's going to set the stage for next week. Lenape will visit Williamstown. Williamstown right now number 10 in the state. Lenape's kind of knocking on the door a little bit. And, that's going to be a huge American Division game. I expect, Williamstown, that place to be packed, and Lenape will bring their fans. And, we'll see that'll be, I think, the first real true test to see exactly where these 2 teams are at this point, because both have played phenomenal defense, have been scored points, with some timely plays. So it's going to be a real shootout, I think.
What are your impressions for Brady Long for Lenape? He threw a couple touchdowns last night, 36-yarder and a 41-yarder, so he's not afraid to chuck it to Xavier Coleman.
No, I haven't seen them yet, and but all indications are that they're a team that has really opened up some eyes, and they've got some weapons all over the field. They've got Division I talent, and they're taking full advantage of it. They won a sectional title a couple of years back, stepped back a little bit when they lost a lot of guys to graduation, but they seem to have really kind of gone from first to third gear real fast. And, they're a team right now, I think, that you don't want to have to play.
Did those 2 meet in the playoffs last year, Kevin?
Lenape and Williamstown?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
All right. I'm trying to remember. I thought Williamstown played somebody in the playoffs last year at a game that I was at, and it was heavily favored for Williamstown. I just thought I'd throw that up there and find out if my memory was correct. Hey, it's not quite 10 o'clock yet, so
it's mine is not there either.
Well, Williamstown, of course, like you said, they beat up on Millville 37-0. Well, since that's some of the Friday night games that we're talking about, and of course, and one other one that McGarry pointed out and slipped in there too, and I had kind of overlooked, and that was my apologies that I had overlooked it, was the fact that Hamilton fell last night. Hamilton went down last night in Friday Night Football. Shawnee, 31-8.
Yeah, Hamilton played without Jaden Abrams last night, who was out with a concussion. I don't know whether he suffered the concussion last week against Timber Creek or earlier this week in practice, but, obviously that's a huge blow for them because he's one of the better running backs in South Jersey. But Shawnee's number 19 in the state this week. They're a defending sectional champion, and they brought back a boatload of guys. So they were ready to really go at it from the jump and have done that.
Where are you headed today? A lot of Saturday matchups. There's St. Augustine at St. Joe. Absegami is at Cedar Creek. That's noon start, St. Augustine, St. Joe. Absegami, Cedar Creek's a 1 o'clock start. And then there's a couple 6 o'clock starts. Kingsway at Egg Harbor Township. Cumberland plays at Pennsauken. Where will Kevin Minnick be?
No, really, Pete. Today, if you look at the schedule, no disrespect to everyone else, there's really one big game on the schedule, and that's St. Augustine at St. Joe. And I think the loss last week by St. Augustine took a little bit of a luster off of this one. But these are two teams that truly do not like each other. They're gonna jaw. There's gonna be extracurriculars. But it's going to be an exciting game from start to finish, I think. And St. Augustine they need to show people that they can bounce back, and they need a W pretty bad, I think, right now. And no better way to do it than to go up against your biggest rival.